We on TV? We are. Okay, it seems to be recording. I think it is. Yes. Hi guys, how are we getting on? This is Tim from Mastercraft Studios. It's been a while since I've done a YouTube video, but I figured I'd come back and give another bash. In recent music news, Emily Armstrong is after becoming the frontwoman of Linkin Park. And some fans welcome the addition, whereas other fans are very much against it. Chester was an amazing vocalist, and Linkin Park were one of the bands that got me into heavy metal. But at the same time, unfortunately, Chester isn't around anymore, so they have to replace him with somebody. And the problem is, when you have someone that iconic, it's kind of hard to find a voice that can replace that. I think it's still early days for Emily Armstrong. I think that she's doing the best she can with it. There is some controversy because Chester Bennington's son doesn't seem to be too pleased with the arrangement. And some of the other members of Linkin Park are after leaving. So they're trying to figure that out at the moment. I hope that Linkin Park come back to the fore. Regardless who the singer is, they're a fantastic band, and I'd love to see them live sometime. In other news, Taylor Swift was voted the 8th best guitar player of the last 2 decades. Now, as a guitar player myself, I don't really see it. I think that she's a phenomenal entertainer, and she's got some very, very devoted fans who are able to vote in their droves to try and get her to be the 8th best guitar player. But the 8th best guitar player of the last 20 years, I'm going to say no on that one. You could argue the point she's the 8th most influential guitar player of the last 20 years, and she probably is, because there's a whole lot of Taylor Swift fans out there, and hi to all the Swifties, by the way. I'm not ripping on your icon, I'm just saying from a guitar playing perspective. Clearly, she's a very successful songwriter and performer, so as far as that side of it goes, she is definitely up in the upper echelon of pop musicians at the moment. But in guitar playing terms, she's not bad, but she's not the 8th best of the last 20 years. I love the production in her songs. There's some stuff that's really cool in it. It wouldn't be my typical jam, but I can respect it. She's an excellent entertainer, but there's a difference between being an entertainer and a musician. They're not the same thing. Being a musician is your technical skill on the instrument, and being an entertainer is being able to go out there and sing and dance and entertain a crowd. So she's exceptional at that, but her guitar playing is decent. I wouldn't say it's great. The 8th best of the last 2 decades, no. But I'd say definitely the 8th most influential. Because Taylor Swift plays guitar, I'd imagine she's inspiring a lot of young kids to pick up the instrument and play it. And the more guitar players we have in the world, the better. This is music producer support. I've spent ages working on a mix, and I got the mix to sound excellent, but the client doesn't like the way it sounds. What should I do? And the only response I can have to that is to give the client what they want. As a music producer, we know how it's going to sound out in the real world, and there's a more optimal way of doing it. But at the same time, if they ask for the mix a certain way, you have to give them that mix. Ultimately, they're paying for the session, so it's up to them what they want. There have been a few times where I was working with clients and I'd send them off the demo, and then I'd try and mix the song, and then every change that I'd make from there is, it doesn't sound like the demo, it doesn't sound like the demo, it doesn't sound like the demo. So in those cases, when that comes up and you really can't appease them any other way, give them the demo, because that's what they're looking for. Now, as a mix engineer, you understand that there's a better way of doing things, and something that will sound more commercial and more polished. But if the client is wanting something that sounds kind of demo-wise, let them have what they want. They are paying you after all, so it is their music, it is their choice. Even if us as mix engineers, we get kind of riled about this kind of thing, because we're trying to make the song sound great. There's a very famous example of this happening, actually, where Metallica were mixing Injustice for All, and the mix engineer was trying to get a balanced sound. And Lars Ulrich came into the studio and he said, turn down the bass, turn on the bass, turn on the bass. And it kind of unbalanced the mix a bit. And the mix engineer almost quit because it didn't sound the way it should have sounded. And so the story goes, many years later, Lars Ulrich met up with the mix engineer. And he turned around to him and said, we did have bass in that album, didn't we? And it was actually Lars pulling down the bass the whole time. And being a mix engineer myself, that's painful, because there's been many times where I try and find the best way to make the mix sound great, and then the artists come in afterwards and say that's not what they want, and to change it and to fix it and to put it back the way it was. And sometimes you just got to take that stuff on the chin. Don't take it personally. Just understand that the artist is looking for what they want, which might not necessarily be the best way to make a song sound commercial. But if it's what they want, it's what they're paying you to do. So just do the best you can to give them what they want. There's always going to be another session, and don't stress about it. Anyhow, guys, that's all I have right now. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you again soon. Take care.